Hello, and welcome to Virtual Birding. We're up in the Blue Ridge Mountains today at Shenandoah National Park, and similar to the last time we went out, this week we're looking for a very special warbler, and one that is definitely here in these mountains, and that warbler is the Cerulean Warbler. So we'll be looking for this nice sort of sky blue bird with those white wing bars, and we'll be looking for it here in Shenandoah National Park. They are often very, very high up in the trees, but there are quite a few of them here at this park, so I think we've got a really good chance. We may not get a chance to see everyone that we see singing, but I think we will be able to at least find one, so we'll give it a shot. As I said, today we are in Shenandoah National Park, and we are in particular in the Dickey Ridge area near the visitor center. The picnic grounds is actually where we started, but we will be going out on a trail. This is a park that's got a lot of very scenic places that you can see out into the valleys off of the Blue Ridge Mountains, but also some really lovely trails. And the trail that we're taking today is the Snead Farm Loop, which is one of the places that I find best for looking for cerulean warblers. It's got a lot of very nice forest trail, but is also home to the Snead Farm, which is an old farm that stopped running in the 1930s. So we'll get across the road here from the picnic area, and we'll start on the trail. Right away you can hear red-eyed vireos singing. They will be pretty common. And then also got an Acadian flycatcher call there, which is a new one for us here on Virtual Birding. So we'll get up here and try to get a look at that bird. The book says they say pizza, and I can kind of hear that. This is one of the Impidnex flycatchers, so pretty difficult to tell apart from the other ones, but the call is pretty distinctive. And there it is. Yeah, pizza. If you can force yourself to hear that. Some of the mnemonics don't really work, but I think that one's not too bad. Oh, and there it flies across. So take another look at it in a little bit different light. Still sitting there doing its pizza call. Pretty typical Impidnex flycatcher. They tend to be a little greener than some of the other ones, but I think that's pretty hard to see. Really, by voice is the easiest way. Alright, one new one already, and got our red-eyed vireos still calling. So we'll keep making our way up. We're going to go up this trail on the right, but there's a bird that just flew across. Looked like a pileated woodpecker. Didn't get a look at it. But I can hear some tapping up here. So it seems like that might be in a part of a pair. We might have a chance here yet. And sure enough, there's a nice male pileated woodpecker. You can see that red on the crown goes all the way down to the bill. Really big woodpecker, about the size of a crow, and just absolutely hammering away at that branch. These taps are pretty loud. I do find that the loudness of a woodpecker tapping doesn't actually really tell you too much, because it depends more on what substrate they're hitting than the actual size of the bird. But that one is quite loud, and it is quite a big woodpecker, so maybe there is something to it in this case. Keep going up the trail here. This first part of the trail is very, very steep, so if you hear me doing some heavy breathing, that's gonna be why. I don't think it looks particularly steep, but it is very, very steep. There's our pileated woodpecker. Here in an eastern wood pewee, that is another one that is new for us, so we'll try to get a look at that if we get one close. Here we have something. It looks like a thrush, but I didn't get a great look at it. But it looks like it's still on the trail, so maybe we can sneak forward and get another look. I think I can see it up there again. And yeah, it looks like a wood thrush, but very, very quick. It's got that real chestnut color, kind of a bigger thrush. I thought I could see some big spots on the chest. Here we'll try another look at it again, and that's a little bit better. Cooperating a bit this time. Nice wood thrush, big chunky thrush, very big black spots all the way down the breast and onto the belly, which is different than all of the other ones. There's not really a lot of other thrushes that could probably be here, so that is definitely the most likely option, but still good to confirm because there are sort of a stray thrush or two here of other species. Looks like we got a squirrel, but took off pretty fast. This feels like a good time to break out the thermal. It can be pretty good for mammals, so we'll take a look around, see if we can figure out where that squirrel went. And I do not see anything. There's some white spots there, but they all kind of look like just the sun coming through the trees. They don't have a real sharp edge, but there is a spot that's got a real sharp edge there. So we'll take a look at that, see if that is something. Maybe a bird, maybe a mammal. And it looks like there's an eastern chipmunk sitting there. So that is a thing that is pretty common here in the woods, but can sometimes be hard to spot. So I guess that's another win for the Thermal Monocular. Keep making our way along, see if we can find anything else. Maybe get a better look at that squirrel. Can see a bird there. Looks like we got an American redstart. Kind of went quick. There's also seems to be a cardinal singing there in the background, so we'll take a look at that. Not the best view of a cardinal in the world, but sitting up high and singing. A lot of times you see them very, very low, but when they sing, they can sit up really, really high. So, pretty neat. Really got that blue-gray gnatcatcher calling off to the side. In the summer, I find those birds incredibly difficult to find, but here is something that is a little easier to see, and that's eastern gray squirrel. A little bit more of an extended look that time than the last time, with the just running off right away as soon as we got our binoculars on it. But we'll keep moving. Seen quite a few gray squirrels, but there's quite a few things that we haven't seen in here yet, including the Cerulean Warbler. Can definitely hear a lot of little chippy sounding notes in here, and that is eastern chipmunk, as well as that red-eyed vireo singing. See if we can't get a good look at this one. This one seems like it's a little bit closer to the trail, so once we get up there, maybe we'll be able to get a look at it. And I do feel like I see it up there. Yeah, there it is, red-eyed vireo. It's actually not the one singing, maybe the female of the pair, but it doesn't matter. Red-eyed vireo is red-eyed vireo, so that's a nice one to get. It is certainly a bird we've heard a couple times before here on Virtual Birding, but I think that is the first time we've actually laid eyes on one. So it's always exciting to get them. Heard birds are also fun. I do love hearing birds and identifying them by ear, but a seen bird is definitely just a little bit extra. Definitely quite a bit more fun. Here's a bug sitting on a leaf. Let's take a look at that. And it looks like some sort of scorpion fly. Here I think it can be either forked scorpion fly or Helena scorpion fly, but the people that tell them apart tell those two apart by looking at the male's genitalia and the shape of it under a microscope. So I don't think we're going to be able to figure that one out today, but still a cool, interesting bug. Kind of fun to see. With insects in general, you can't be too precious about identifying everything because it just is never going to happen. But fun to see. I definitely enjoy a cool bug from time to time. And here's something else that's not a bird. Here's a white-tailed deer sort of sneaking through the woods. Not the easiest to see behind all the logs, but we'll get up a little closer. Maybe if it doesn't run off and it is there close to the path, maybe we'll get another look at it. And there, I think I see a deer, but it's not the one we were looking at before. Just peeking over the log. Looks like it's got quite a few flies in its face, which seems pretty annoying, but it is that time of year. Definitely the summer, all the flies came out. I'm sure you saw all the flies in the picnic ground. I think that is one of the most miserable picnic grounds I've ever been in. I've definitely eaten quite a few picnic lunches there. As even in that picnic ground, it's possible to find Cerulean Warblers. So it's definitely a nice place to eat lunch from that regard. But there are definitely tons of just little bugs, and they don't bite, but they just sort of fly right in your face, and it's pretty annoying. But definitely is still a spot worth coming to. And when you're walking in the forest here, as you can tell, there aren't so many bugs. But here we've got a bird, a little warbler hopping along there, and it's our worm-eating warbler again. So got that 2 times in a row, which is pretty impressive. It's not always the easiest bird. Although I will say here in Shenandoah, I usually have a little bit better luck at it than I do in Great Dismal Swamp. So last week was a real treat. Got another warbler up here, and we've got a hooded warbler male. So that's another one we saw last week, and this one seemed like it was carrying a whole mouthful of caterpillars. So it must have a nest with nestlings, or possibly even fledglings at this point, which is pretty exciting. Definitely a breeding bird around here, and we can confirm that it's breeding if it's feeding young. So definitely very cool. Keep making our way along the trail here. We'll keep going up and up and up. Should be a pretty good walk. These Appalachian forests, how they look with all of these like exposed rocks and all the logs, are some of my favorite forests in the entire country. I think the Appalachians really sort of get a bad rap. I think that the Rockies, as spectacular as they are with the high peaks and snowy mountains and areas above the tree line, are just so pretty that people forget that the Appalachian Mountains are as nice as they are. But they are really incredible. Here we got a wood thrush singing off here, so we'll try to find that. And there it is, sitting there nice and singing. Always very fun. A lot better look at that than even the one that we got on the trail. Absolutely one of my favorite bird songs in the entire world. Incredibly beautiful song. And a very, very cool bird. And one, honestly, that's not always the easiest to see. There's a bird way up here on the top of the tree, and even though it's far and kind of behind some sticks, scarlet tanager is pretty easy to identify. Nothing else that crimson red, even a cardinal isn't quite that red. And those black wings are always very nice. I've heard a couple of them in here, but it's good to lay eyes on one. Definitely one of the prettiest birds in this entire forest. Here looks like we might have another bug. And this one is a golden-backed snipefly. So you can see that really golden back, and if you were quick, you could have noticed there's some little spots on the abdomen. So golden-backed snipefly, pretty neat little bug. Some redstarts singing in here. I feel like we haven't gotten a good look at a redstart yet and haven't seen a male, so maybe we'll be able to pick that out, and I think I see it. And yep, there it is, all black and orange. Definitely a nice, beautiful male American redstart. They tend to be pretty common in these forests as well. Definitely a pretty common breeding bird in these Appalachian woods. Cerulean Warbler is another sort of specialty for these Appalachian forests. But there's really a lot of warblers that call these mountains home, and redstart is definitely one of the most common of those warblers, so definitely cool. I imagine we'll be hearing quite a few more, and hopefully we'll be seeing a few more as well, as, you know, any warbler is welcome as far as I'm concerned. Alright, well, we're getting to about the top here, and now we've got a beautiful overlook here to take a minute, stop, appreciate the incredible scenery here at Shenandoah National Park. And after that really big hill, I think I personally am ready for a water break. So we'll grab a sip of water here as the morning doves sing, and we can take a look out at this overlook. This will be the only overlook that we'll see while we're here on this trail. And so definitely worth taking a minute to appreciate it. As you can see, like any other open area, there's definitely some bugs here. And so we've got these little flying gnats that sort of are getting in our face, but it's just the cost of doing business at some of these overlooks. And there's a bird flying out in the distance, and we got a nice turkey vulture. Those V-shaped wings rocking back and forth. And I thought I heard an indigo bunting while that turkey vulture was going over. So we'll take a look, and there it is, sitting down in there. Nice brilliant blue. These are birds that absolutely love these little open patches. They tend to find any sort of open patch in the forest that they can find, and will hang out there. So definitely a spot I would expect to find indigo bunting, but good to see it. This one in particular is really, really beautiful. Really sort of vibrant blue. So that's very cool. But yeah, inside the forest, indigo buntings usually aren't around, but in a place like this, where there's a little bit of an opening, or on the edge of the forest near the road, indigo buntings are definitely pretty common here in Shenandoah National Park. So definitely a neat bird to see. Keep making our way down the trail. You can hear that indigo bunting now starting to sing now that we're out of his area. Definitely maybe bothered him a little bit while we were in his spot, but now that we're away, definitely singing away. There he is again. But we'll start making our way down now, so it'll be a little bit easier hiking than it has been so far, which is always nice. And hopefully somewhere along the way we'll run into a Cerulean Warbler. Oftentimes I have one by now, but we've heard them already sort of distantly, but we haven't really been close enough to see one, so that is what we'll be hoping for, is to find one sort of singing loud that we can stand for a minute and look up towards the top of the tree and hopefully pick one out. And this is a species of stilt-legged fly that I think is the scientific name that you saw there on the screen. I would not say that I am an expert in things like that, but as far as I could tell, looking through my insect book, that's the one that's around, and that's the one that matches the fly we saw there. Kind of a weird alien-looking fly, pretty neat. Do love a weird bug. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an insect expert, so there's some chance I make a mistake here and there while we do these walks on some of these insects, but I'll do my best to get them right. But I think I just heard a Cerulean Warbler up ahead, so hopefully this will be our chance. It's definitely singing a little louder than some of the ones we've heard, and so I think we have a chance if we can get up here close enough. Yeah, real loud. This one should be visible, and I think I see it there. Yep, there it is, sitting up in the tree, singing away. Incredibly cool little blue bird. Kind of tough to tell from this angle how blue it is, but that is the Cerulean Warbler experience. They're usually so high up in the tree that you don't get a lot of blue, but yeah, and he flew off, so we'll keep moving. But yeah, they are a bird that is really not that difficult here in Shenandoah National Park. We'll probably hear quite a few of them through this walk, but actually getting glimpses of them is quite difficult because they spend so much time in the absolute treetops. Seeing females is even more rare than seeing males because they tend to be really hidden into the top of the tree. But the males, with their singing, if you can get here early and get them singing before the day gets too hot, then you can find one that's close to the trail and do exactly what we just did. And stand there for a little bit and scan the tops of the trees until you find it. So definitely singing is the way to see birds. I think that for the most part you may have noticed on our bird walks, a lot of times we hear the bird before we see it, and so that's part of what makes learning calls really helpful with birding. There we got another Cerulean Warbler singing, but that one sounds quite a bit further, so I don't think we'll probably get a chance to look at that one, but we'll see. If we get a chance that there's another one along the trail, we'll definitely take a look. Here we looks like another warbler. And yeah, sitting real quiet in there is a nice female redstart. They're kind of more grayish than the males, with a little bit of yellow in the wings and tails, where the male would be orange. She moved off, so we'll keep making our way along. Canadian flycatchers singing in here. We're sort of well past halfway point of the trail at this point, and we're getting down a little closer to the Snead farm. And so I'm definitely glad that we got that Cerulean Warbler, because yeah, our chances are sort of running out. And oftentimes I get them sort of more high up. I just heard a yellow-throated vireo calling. It seems like it's along the trail, maybe up ahead. It seems like it may be coming closer, so we'll take a little look here. I think I see it along the trail. Yep, there it is. Sort of came closer to us, and yeah, right over our head. And yeah, there it is. That song's not a lot different than the red-eyed vireo, to be honest, but is a little scratchier. So, sort of like the scarlet tanager, sounds like an American robin with a sore throat. I think yellow-throated vireo kind of sounds like a red-eyed vireo with a sore throat. They definitely have very similar qualities to their song, so that's definitely something to listen for. But alright, we'll keep making our way along. At this point, we've seen much of the birds that I would hope for up here. We've already got quite a few new ones for our virtual birding life list. Yellow-throated vireo was definitely one I was hoping for, but wasn't sure we would get. And here's another one that is new, Eastern Wood Pewee. We've heard a ton of them, but that's the first one we've seen, so that's very exciting. Definitely nice to get that one. It looks quite a bit like some of the Epidnex flycatchers, but it's a little more plain gray on the face. And if you get the front of it, it's almost got a little bit of a vest. Not quite the sort of very, very strong vested look that you think of when you think of like a olive-sided flycatcher, but definitely a little bit more than you get in some of those Epidnex flycatchers. Can still hear that pewee singing. Here we get another Cerulean Warbler up ahead. See if this one's close to the trail. It's hard to tell there. It's definitely pretty close. Can take a try for it. And then sure enough, yeah, there it is, sitting up in the tree. That one, just the angle we're at and the way it's sort of catching the sun, it definitely, you can see a little bit more blue on it. So that's fun, even though it is very, very high in the tree still. But this is what they often do. If you can hear them singing, and you can hear them singing close to the trail, they often kind of just stay on one perch and sing for a little while. And so if you can sort of pinpoint that sound, you can get a look at them. Very, very cool. Definitely a nice bird to get. You can hear that witchy, witchy, witchy you of the hooded warbler singing over there. So definitely quite a few of them in this forest as well. I'm actually sort of surprised we haven't seen more than just that one, but if they're all busy with nests, that can sometimes make birds harder to see, because especially during the nesting period, they tend to be a little quieter, tend to be a little sneakier as they move through the forest, as they don't want to draw you or any predators to their nest. So that may explain why we haven't had too many hooded warblers today, but it's definitely a good bird, and we did get a pretty decent look at it, so might be happy to just see it that one time relatively well, and neat to know that they're sort of successfully breeding in here. There's a bird up on the path. Looks like a nice eastern towhee male. Really nice look at that bird. Looked like there was two of them right on the trail sort of hanging out together, and it seemed like both two males, which is sort of interesting. You wouldn't expect that this time of year, but you know, good for them. June is Pride Month after all. But another bird up in the tree, and looks like we've got an American redstart. That is another nice male sitting up in the tree. Nice black and orange Halloween colors. Definitely another wood thrush sort of here along this edge. Eastern towhee is another bird that likes these little gaps in the forest and the edges, sort of like the indigo bunting, so can't say I'm too surprised to find one here. Alright, now that we're past the Snead farm, we will be walking out this sort of old road that led up to the farm. That'll take us back to the road. Up ahead, we've got a mammal that we haven't seen yet, which is Eastern Cottontail. You can see, especially the ears and the way the head's shaped is quite a bit different than that marsh rabbit that we had last week. But we'll get a little closer, see what it does. Usually they just go running off, but maybe we'll get a better look. And this one seems to just sort of be running on the trail ahead of us, but it looks like it's going to stop, so we'll take a look. That's a little bit better. You can see that sort of fluffy white tail that gives it its name, Cottontail. So that's pretty neat. Definitely a different rabbit and a fun one. So keep making our way along this road. This road's got very edge habitat, and here on the edge we've got a bug. Looks like a type of spine-headed bug. One of the true bugs in Hemiptera. So that's pretty neat. Definitely some nice orange color on that one, which is pretty cool. Once you start really looking close at bugs, they're actually pretty neat. And they've got just as much color as birds. They kind of remind me sometimes of like little dinosaurs too, with all the spines and, you know, little hairs and neat little structures that they have on their bodies. They're definitely a sort of odd group of creatures, and definitely one that is usually overlooked. And so, I don't know. I always try to take a couple seconds to look at them. I don't know almost anything about bugs, but I just think they're fun. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at them whenever we get the chance, even if the focus of our walk is birds. But as you can see, this road is kind of more edgy habitat. So we're kind of now out of the sort of dense part of the forest and working our way along this edge on the road. So that's why you're hearing quite a bit more of things like eastern towhees. I would expect there's some indigo buntings around here too. Haven't been hearing them, but they may just be quiet already. It's getting a little bit later in the day. It's really, I guess, still mid-morning, but this time of year, it gets pretty hot and things tend to get pretty quiet. But this time of day when it gets warm can be good for insects, and we've got a butterfly here. Very quick look, but that looks like a cabbage white. And then just up ahead, I feel like I see another butterfly, so we'll try to get closer if it lands. And there, I think it did. So there we have a nice great spangled fritillary. They're very, very pretty butterfly. I love those white spots on sort of that hind wing. Very, very cool. We'll keep making our way along, see if we can't find any more bugs or birds. Really don't want to be too picky. Here's a warbler that just landed. Another American redstart. And you can see it almost looks like a female, but it was singing. And that's because that is actually a first-year male. So American redstarts, unlike most warblers, don't actually get into their full sort of adult male plumage until after their second year. So their first breeding season, they tend to be in that more female-looking plumage. Now that bird did have a couple black feathers on it, which is a way to pick it out as a male, even if you don't see it well. And here we got another Cerulean Warbler, so we'll take a look. Another bird that you can get a little bit more blue on. Very, very pretty. Well, that's very cool. And we're actually almost to the end of this trail. And so that's definitely a nice way to send us off. I don't always get Cerulean Warblers on this edge, although it is possible. So I'm definitely excited to pick that up here right at the end. So we'll just keep making our way down here. We'll see if we can find anything else on the way to the road, but there's the trail we went up initially. So we've made the loop, and just ahead is the road. So I think at this point we will wrap it up here. So on our bird walk, we had 26 species of birds, 4 species of mammals, 5 species of invertebrates in about 3 miles walked, and 2 hours and 25 minutes. And we saw our target bird, Cerulean Warbler. Now for our species list, if it's a herd-only species, it'll have HO. If it's a new bird for our virtual birding life list, it'll have an N. And for any bird that we've seen for the first time but we previously heard, we'll have an S. So I think that my bird of the day is going to be a Cerulean Warbler, which is also the target bird, of course. And it's just hard to beat. It's a really nice specialty bird for this area. And yeah, it's very cool. Although I will say I'd give an honorable mention to some of these bugs. Very cool as well. We're about to get into the part of the summer that's pretty hot, so we might try a couple sort of different things on our next couple bird walks. But for now, our bird life list is at 176 species with 5 new today. We've got 10 species of mammals with 2 new today, 2 species of amphibians and reptiles, and 7 invertebrates with 5 new today. Thank you for coming on this bird walk at Shenandoah National Park with me today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope to see you on the next one. Happy birding!